Hi, and welcome to Alaskan in Thailand. I'm up here by the Fisherman's Pier about 6 in the evening. Beautiful breeze, cool, cloudy evening. Uh, it's getting ready, going to get something to eat up here pretty soon. Today I thought I'd talk about why Thailand makes the most sense, I was like you guys looking for a place to retire, searching YouTube, looking at all the different places, all the big name places. Dumaguete stuck out, Siem Reap, Cambodia stuck out, Da Nang stuck out, and for me it was just a process of elimination, what I wanted and what I hoped I would need. And you go into it, you don't know what you're going to need when you go into it, so you're going in blind. You eventually start figuring things out once you've been in a different country. And honestly, I don't have no experience in many other countries other than the Philippines, and that's another one. It came right down to a process of elimination. To starting off in Dumaguete, it was a nice place compared to where I came from. It was a great place to live. There was food available, restaurants. Where I was, it was out in the bush, so I had a lot lower standards than maybe some of you guys might have. So it all depends, again, on what your standard of life and living is going to be. There's things that'll are just deal breakers and no-go situation for it. Like me. And I got to Dumaguete, I was kind of stuck halfway between Valencia and Dumaguete, and it was hard to walk around. I couldn't walk around. Wasn't much food, and I figured there's got to be a better life somewhere else, and good thing I did. But it came to that crossroads when I decided I want to try somewhere new. I had to flip a coin, basically. Do I want to go to, I had Da Nang, Vietnam down on my list, and Siem Reap, Cambodia were going to be my other two choices, or Hua Hin, Thailand. And I kind of, did what I could, watching videos, followed guys that vlogged the area and seen and watched, and they all have kind of low prices. That's a good thing. You need low prices. And then it comes to healthcare. Was there healthcare? And from what I was reading online anyway, the healthcare in Cambodia is kind of sketchy, they were saying. Maybe I could be wrong. The one in Vietnam, I'm sure there's got to be some good healthcare there, but I've heard some say that the healthcare there wasn't very good either. But they all said Thailand. Yeah, Thailand's got great healthcare, and I needed some healthcare. I needed an operation, surgery for hernia. So I figured, well, I'll go ahead and try Hua Hin, and since it is in Thailand, and see if I can get it fixed there. And I got here. Immediately upon getting here, I met other people. I met a lady actually from Vietnam, and I asked her I said, where are you from? She said, Da Nang. Really? I said, you from Da Nang? How is it? And she said, no, it is better here. And she was from there. So I thought, wow. And then I kept talking to other people that had been traveling around, different places in Cambodia. I've talked to guys that traveled all over the world, and they came and they said, well, Hua Hin is the best place for me for retirement. For me to see these world travelers come here and say the same thing as what I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, it's got to be better than most places. There's always going to be a few downers too. There's going to be things in your life that you can't deal with, deal breakers, maybe like, I'm not just saying here, but if you go to the Philippines or something, or the rooster crowing, you ain't going to be able to handle that. Maybe the traffic, you ain't going to be able to handle that. Maybe it's not safe. That's going to be a thing. So do your process of elimination. Is there a bad stormy season? That's another thing to consider. Does the area have floods, natural typhoons, volcanoes, earthquakes? Those are all very important things you're going to have to take into account when you come to your process of elimination going down the line. You'll probably, in my mind, I think Thailand for me is the best idea. There's probably not so good places in Thailand to be too, as far as heavy rains and flooding and stuff like that. But we don't really get hammered with terrible typhoons like the Philippines and Taiwan and China and Japan, and those places really get hammered hard on a yearly basis. I think they had like 20 typhoons this season. So yeah, you got to think of that. So yeah, for my mind, So far, Hua Hin makes the most sense. Just thinking about it and watching the videos, it seemed like it would make the most sense anyway. And when I got here, I'm pleasantly surprised. You know, it really does. Plenty of food available, cheap prices. The Thailand visa is what it is, but it can be had. Whereas like Vietnam, there's no visa to be had there. You got to leave the country in 3 months. That kind of will get old fast. So I didn't want to do that just for that reason. Cambodia, I guess, kind of rough living over there now. It's kind of the wars and stuff between Thailand, Cambodia. They're kicking the Cambodians out, so that ain't can't be good. Anyway, I'm sure you'd be safe, but there it is, the scam capital of the world right now. So that's another thing. You don't want to get kidnapped. So you got to be careful where in the world, in the Philippines, Mexico, or wherever you go. So that's another thing. Like I say, it's been a process elimination for me. For me, Hua Hin makes the most sense. I really can't see the downside. It ain't perfect. The water ain't perfect. There is some trash around, but they keep the place pretty clean and pretty crime free and great food, cheap prices. People ain't mean. I don't see a problem. I think it's a great choice so far for me. I'm going to yet travel around and try check some of these other countries. Who knows? I may find a paradise yet. But so far, I think I made a pretty good choice. And you do the process elimination on things that are important to you. That'll help you. Your importance might be different than mine. But anyway, that's what my thoughts on the subject. Well, I'm going to go find something to eat in one of these restaurants over here, I think. Well, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Show you more of Hua Hin Beach. Never where else around. Give you a look around before I shut her down. Sure to check back for new uploads every day.